Have you ever opened your bank app, maybe your credit card app, and you scroll through the transactions and you think, who's been spending all of my money? It wasn't me, right? I would remember that. If impulse spending is your toxic trait, hi, welcome. You are safe here. Hi, I'm Em, and this is the Reset Hub. And this is where we talk about money, life, and fixing our habits without shame or guilt or convincing ourselves that we're just bad with money. We're not bad with money. We're just impulsive and tired. Today, I'm sharing the real strategies that have helped me curb my impulse spending. That never buy anything fun again, but just having fewer regrets. So if that's something that interests you, then keep on listening. First, let's be honest. Impulse shopping is rarely about buying something that you actually need. So I've been using 3 major strategies to help myself curb my impulse spending. The first is, and that you've probably heard elsewhere, is to write everything down. Now, at first, I thought this was kind of silly. I was like, well, what does it matter if I write everything down? It's not really going to have much impact on what I do or don't do. But I've tried it. I've written everything down, every single purchase, even the really small ones. You know, the ones that you think don't really matter, but kind of do and add up. Every Amazon add-on. I went to Target and I didn't really know what I purchased until I spent $112. Yeah, those two. I think when I write it down, then it means that I can't gas myself later about where that money went or why I spent so much money. And the intention isn't to kind of guilt myself. So I spent $112 in Target. The goal isn't to make myself feel bad about it. It's just to make myself more aware that I'm spending my money that way. And you know what? It has been kind of eye-opening for me. I thought I had a pretty good grip. Okay, no, that's a lie. I didn't really have a pretty good grip. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent so much money over the last few years. But I thought I had a pretty good idea when I made big purchases. And I didn't think that I was having a lot of trouble with the smaller purchases. But the reality is that when I looked back at what I had written down, I noticed that I was spending $5, $10 here and there in a lot of different places. Kind of those Starbucks runs when they used to say that if you cut out your coffee each day, that somehow you become a millionaire. I'm proof that that is not the case. But what I can say is that those $5 and $10 purchases that I've been making, they do kind of add up to a lot for me. 100, sometimes $200, which for someone like me on a more modest income, that's a lot of money. So the tracking for me isn't about making myself feel guilty. It's just about being more accountable to myself. And I found that really helpful. But of course, just writing everything down isn't necessarily helping me to curb my impulse spending. It's just the first step. And I have 2 more steps that I've been using. So the second step is creating an I want this list. Kind of like a wish list, but not really a wish list. To me, a wish list is something that is kind of more abstract. You just put a bunch of stuff in your cart, or you create an Amazon wish list of things that you might like to have, and you will purchase them later. And it's easy to. You just add it to cart and check out. But for me, and I want this list is a little bit different. I have a little book, a little notebook, and when I see something that I think, oh, I really like that, I have to write it down. I not only have to write down the item and the price, but I also have to be able to explain to myself why I want that item. And then if I already own something that serves the same purpose, and how what I want is either different or how I will use it in a different way. I found that just the very act of going through that exercise kills the impulse for me for a lot of things, especially the part of explaining to myself why I want that item. It really helps me to differentiate between, okay, is this an item that I really want, or is this an item that I've been influenced online to want? The other question that I ask myself is this something that I foresee myself still wanting in 2 weeks, a month, 6 months from now? Will it be something that's just collecting dust? Will I be trying to sell the item that I want so desperately? Will the future me thank me for purchasing this item? And going through that exercise, all of a sudden, those impulse purchases, it just seems a lot less urgent to me. I don't know, maybe it's something about putting it out there in the world. It's not secret anymore. And I think impulse shopping kind of thrives in secrecy. If you're anything like me, you probably have a wardrobe or a closet full of stuff that you thought you really wanted in the moment. And then a few months later, you found that you weren't using those things at all. So I'm trying to avoid that by using my I want this list. The next strategy that I use, especially if I find that writing it down and trying to justify it to myself doesn't actually work to kind of kill the impulse, is I put in a 24 to 48-hour rule. You know, if I go through that exercise and I think, yes, I still really want this item, I have to try and wait at least 24 hours and preferably 48 hours to decide, okay, do I still want that item and can I still justify it to myself? And if the answer to that question is yes, then if it's within my budget, I can go ahead and purchase it. But what I don't do is I don't leave it in my cart on that website. And you might be thinking, hey, why not? That seems like a pretty easy way to wait. But the thing is, for me, I'm a kind of person that if I leave something in the cart, what will happen is I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll rationalize it to myself and hit the buy button. Or I'll have a really bad day and I'll make an emotional purchase because I want to pick me up. So I want to try and make it difficult for myself, or maybe not difficult, but less easy to actually purchase that item. So I'm not allowed to leave it in my cart. And I've also found that really helpful. A lot less impulse purchases when you don't have anything sitting in the cart of the website, or you have to go and hunt for the item again. The other thing is that by giving myself a timeline and saying that I can't purchase it for 24 to 48 hours after I have decided that I really want that item, often I forget about that item, or the impulse just dies right there because I'm not interested anymore. This has also really helped a lot when I go into a store, not just with online shopping. If I go into a store and I see something and I think, oh, I really want that, and I've written it down, I've justified to myself why that's something that I want, knowing that I actually have to make the trip back to purchase the item is also really helpful, because if I really want that item, I will go back. But 95% of the time, it is not worth the effort to get back in the car and go back to the store to purchase that item. Another change that I've made is I've stopped trying to purchase things because I've been having a bad day or because I feel bad. I try and ask myself, am I buying this because I need it, or because I'm tired, stressed, or just mildly inconvenienced that day? And if it's the second one, I pause and I try and reset a different way. Maybe that's taking my dog for a walk. Maybe that's having a shower. Maybe that's reading a book. Maybe it's just lying dramatically on the couch. So those are the things that have actually been helping me. I mean, the big three for me are writing down everything that I'm spending, creating this I want this book, and then giving myself time after I decide that I want something. Those three in particular have been really helpful. But I did want to tell you about a couple things that I think really have not worked for me. And the first one is cutting out all kinds of fun spending. At this time of the year, you'll see a ton of videos, a ton of content about having a no buy or a low buy year. Well, I've tried those things. And you know what happened to me? I did really well for a couple weeks, and then I went on some sort of revenge tour where I purchased every single thing in sight. I just know it doesn't work for me. It's like when you go on a crash diet and you only eat soup and broccoli for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're at Pizza Hut gouging on a big pizza and drinking 2 liters of Coke. It's just not helpful. But what I have done is tried to set myself a budget for fun items, not for impulsive purchase items, but for things that I really do want. And, it's helped. Again, I'm not perfect. I'm still making some impulsive purchases, but knowing that I have allotted amount of money each month kind of makes me think a little bit more carefully before I purchase something that I just like. So, for example, I really love handbags and I love shoes and I like a lot of fashion things. And there's always something that's new that's coming out, the next big thing. And there's always something new that I want. The other thing that I'm trying to be kind with myself about is that I'm recognizing that impulse spending doesn't mean that I'm bad with money. It just means that I haven't been paying attention to how I've been spending my money. And I found that once I kind of slowed down and I've written things down and given myself some structure without trying to punish myself or try and restrict myself too much, that my spending has kind of changed. Again, I'm not perfect. I'm still making a lot of mistakes. But overall, my spending really has changed. Compared to a year ago, January 2025, my credit card bill is half of what it was in January of 2025 because I'm just not spending as much on things that don't matter anymore. If there's anything in this video that you thought was helpful, then I hope you'll like or maybe even subscribe. And then tell me in the comments, what's been your biggest struggle with impulse spending? Because no judgment here. I think we've all gone to Walmart and Target with the intent of purchasing a $6 pack of batteries and come out with $75 of stuff that we didn't even know that we wanted. Thanks. I'll see you in the next one.